I am Alberto Villarreal, Managing Director of Nepanoa Transformation Advisory. Today we'll be speaking about marketing and brand positioning in the post-COVID-19 world. We interviewed Jose Molina, Managing Director of Publicis Next, the innovation practice of Publicis Group, one of the largest marketing and communications companies in the world.
Jose, thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciate you taking some minutes out of your day to speak with us. We want to talk today about marketing. We want to talk about what companies should be doing right now to prepare for the post-COVID-19 world, and also what should they be thinking of to come out and actually be, a thriving business again. I know that you've been having a lot of conversations with your clients, and I want to ask you about that.
Yeah, great. I think that's a great question to just kickstart the conversation. I think that as you were mentioning in your other interviews, and I do believe that's the right way at looking at things today, is that you have two big points around COVID-19. The first one is basically this social distancing part of the evolution of how we are integrating everything today. And the second part is going to be when we get out there, when we go out and we start interacting with the world again in so many different ways. So thinking about how brands are going to be interacting with their customers moving forward, or even how they are interacting today, there are opportunities, but those opportunities arise only and only when brands recognize that this time it's extremely different to anything that they've lived before, and that they need to take different actions, and that they need to approach the consumers in a different way, right? So that's today, and moving forward, we need to redesign how we engage as brand owners and as basically leaders within a vertical in the market, on how are you going to get your product out there, and which message are you giving your consumers today on how you will evolve in the future.
Sure. It's very interesting, Jose, because in the playbook that we released, in the COVID-19 playbook, and then also and in the different conversations that we've been having with clients about how to prep for the future, how to find opportunities for the future, how to implement change, a very important point is client communication. And that can be, depending on the industry, different for every company, right? I mean, when you talk about the manufacturing industry, well, perhaps it's a B2B, right? They're manufacturing a specific product or a specific piece for another business, right? So they need to be having it. So it's a more direct conversation. But in your world, we're talking about mostly about consumer brands, right? Where the customer says millions of people. And that becomes intriguing because you want to deliver the right message to your clients today, but you may also want to receive some feedback from them, right? And establish a deeper connection throughout COVID-19. What's your perspective on that?
Well, first, I think we need to recognize that nowadays, the catalyst of change is not a CMO, is not actually a CEO even. It's the consumer, the way people buy, the way people interact, the way people digest content. That's what's actually guiding you to evolve yourself. So that's
number one. That should have been established already.
Yeah. And the way you should be aiming to get that feedback and to be quick on your feet to actually respond is how are you operating today that allows you to get those insights and digest them pretty quick, so that's paramount. And after that, I think that we also need to understand what is the customer or your client telling you today, your consumer, but also what are they going to need that they don't know it yet, and from those insights today, how are they going to interact with the world tomorrow that they might not be aware today that they will need a different way of interaction, but how am I going to move towards that point even before the people get to my retail space, for example?
Correct.
So for example, think about yourself. You are over there with your wife and your kids, and you're going to go out one day, we hope quite soon.
Yes.
But it's very likely that you're going to be, let's say you go to X store, and you want to buy food. And you're going to tell your kids, hey, watch out. I don't want you grabbing the door handle. I want you to wash your hands. And please, I mean, if you're going to touch anything, just make sure that you are aware of it. And so that's an insight. And the way you transform it is that you start thinking, okay, as a brand, how am I going to put a lot of effort now to make sure my retail space is, for the customer or for my consumer, hygienic enough for them to feel comfortable and to feel safe and to feel embraced and to feel understood, by the brand. So that's one insight, but it's definitely coming, and it's definitely where we need to move towards.
That's fantastic insight, Jose. When with the clients that we're speaking right now about, doing ideation sessions and trying to define the future, these are the types of ideas that we bring to the table and that we have a discussion on. How is our customer going to behave? What are they going to be needing? How do they want to feel? And the example that you just brought is very tangible, in which people are going to be more conscious about what they touch, what don't they touch, have they washed their hands, have they not washed their hands. So as a brand, bringing someone into a retail space, being able to provide that quote unquote clean experience, literally, right? Yeah. Maybe something important. It's something very tangible. It's a simple example. Yes, I like it. I like that. Thinking more, Jose, about also the values that brands and the positioning, right? The values and the positioning that they may think of for the post-COVID-19 world. I mean, right now, we're assuming that every brand or every company out there has communicated with their clients already. It's a must. I mean, we are at least in the middle or halfway through the pandemic, or this first version of the pandemic, depending on which report you want to trust. But they have already communicated. So now, thinking a little bit ahead, from a values perspective, what do you think are the values that brands should be aiming for, or will be aiming for in the post-COVID-19 world?
Well, I think that the values that you will be measured against are the values that you are creating today. For example, are you taking care of your employees today? Are you taking care of your supply chain today? Are you being a good neighbor? So those are the building blocks for the post-COVID-19 world. And I think some brands are doing spectacular work, and some other brands are lagging behind, and they are still trying to figure it out, which is fair enough, but they need to be fast. Now, post-COVID-19, which values are the customers of the new era? Because I don't want to say the future, because we're already there,
Correct.
It's been said. So I think those values are going to be basically around transparency, around efficiency, but also how do you pass on that efficiency to your employees again, because we've all been hit by this. I also think that, again, understanding the situation people are going to be in that COVID post social distancing era,
yeah,
where we need, our needs are going to be different. You probably will need to have a saving approach to the way you spend money. You will need a more hygienic experience, as we were saying. We will also need to interact differently. I mean, I think we cannot underestimate the massive change that we have gone through as a society, that now lots and millions of people were onboarded to virtual conferencing, to meet with each other virtually, like we are doing now. And probably you and I, we were using this technology before COVID-19. There were millions of people out there, that they were afraid or were just, they were laggards. They were
hesitant. They were hesitant.
Yeah. They were the on your innovation adoption curve, they are the late adopters, right? So
Sure.
those guys have moved. I would really like to see an exercise actually on how COVID-19 has shifted or within this short period of time, this technology adoption curve. That would be quite interesting. But anyway,
Sure.
I think the way we interact today has set the baseline for us to have very different companies in the next 6 months, and the brands that actually leverage the technology now and all this COVID-19 technology awareness that has been absorbed by people, it's actually going to change behaviors and how we consume stuff. So it's going to be interesting.
See, it's I like what you say, Jose, because our perspective at Nepanoa is that COVID-19 accelerated many trends that we had been seeing already. And not only from a technology perspective, right? I mean, I've been doing automation projects for the last 5-6 years, like, using technology to automate processes. And now it's like, oh, okay, we actually need that, right? Zoom, Hangouts, having video conferences, same thing the last 5-6 years. And you would always meet clients that were a little bit reluctant to this. Now, I devote my life to transformational projects, right? So when you always think of the change management approach, when you implement a new technology or when it's a post-merger integration, or even if it's a regulatory transformation, right? A transformation regulatory driven by regulations, my apologies. You always think of the right approach to do change management for people to adopt the change. And we always discuss the straightforward approach of, hey, next day, this is how it's going to work. And that's usually the approach that we don't take because we have time. What COVID-19 did, it just accelerated. It's like, hey, there's no other way to this. You have to adapt. And it has turned out, I think, for the most, for most of the situations, it has turned out to be a good thing. Now, to that point, Jose, you mentioned transparency. You mentioned technology. You mentioned the new customer, the new way of thinking. And these are trends that we had been seeing. These are trends that had been happening. Now it's, okay, we got the chance to experience many of them, but actually we got to understand how many of these technologies that already exist, how many of these behaviors that should have been adopted before will be needed in the future to position our brand, right? So that the customers and also our employees understand the values and what we stand for. So look at it from the bright side or from the positive side for businesses of what this means. It's, as we look forward, it gives us an opportunity to really reinvent and transform who we were to actually focus on what will drive our business going forward.
Yes, I fully agree. I think it's extremely important for brands to recognize today that there's a huge infrastructure of stuff already built out there, and that they probably never saw before and that they could capitalize immediately. So I do believe that understanding where you are, where you can play, and where you can win today, it's just what we need to do. This goes down to strategy, and this is just, we were probably planning our year. December last year we were planning on what we were gonna do 2020, but that has changed, and you need to be quite fast at moving and understanding where you can win.
Yeah, and the funny story about that is that if you and I would have talked in October, November, when you were planning for 2020, I would have taught you to stop planning because I preach all the time that people should not do annual plans. Businesses should not do annual plans, specifically for what's happening right now. That was wasted time, Jose.
Yes.
I agree. From now on, you're going to start. Yes, you're going to do forecasting for years to come, right? You will always look 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead, but you will plan for 3 months in advance. That's it.
And I think we should plan month by month, man.
Month by month, especially in the situations.
Yes, for sure.
Jose, how do you think marketing functions will change within companies, within brands, as a result of COVID-19? And I asked this question, and I'm going to tell you what I very quickly, what we've written about. When people immediately think, let's be cost conscious, boom, away goes marketing. just like that.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be it shouldn't be the case. Actually, under my perspective, it should be seen as an investment, right? You should invest now to then be able to get back on your feet in the future. So thinking more on the operational side of a business, right, from a marketing side, how do you think that COVID-19 is going to impact marketing within companies?
Well, marketing has been transforming itself for the last few years heavily. I do believe that marketeers today, they should function as transformation consultants. I do believe that marketers have a privileged position where they actually understand what the brand stands for. They understand who is your consumer, and they understand how you built everything, because you must understand your DNA if you want to create good marketing, and relevant marketing, and marketing that is actually meaningful for your consumers. So I believe that today's marketers, they should quickly also evolve the way they work and start acting as transformation consultants, and look at culture, innovation, and look at how to do things differently and better, and how to embrace the change, rather than just trying to put a nice campaign online, which isn't gonna yield as much as they wish.
Understood. And what about from the technology perspective, Jose? What technologies do you think will impact marketing the most? I'm very intrigued about virtual reality and augmented reality, how it's being used already. I am very intrigued to learn how it's going to be used in the future with social distancing, perhaps people not going or traveling as often nowadays. So when you think from a technology perspective, how do you think technology is going to impact marketing in the post-COVID-19 world?
So the first pillar I would definitely put an eye on would be, everything. If you think about it, there are lots of products and product launches and stuff that need to happen physically. So you have fashion events, you have concerts, you have I don't know, one shots that you do, activations and big ones, and you want people to be there and take a picture and stuff. So what's going to happen? I mean, it's very likely that in the next 6 months we will not be able to do those kind of events. But I would just add to that, we might not be able to do those kind of events the way we were used to, right? So AR and VR, it's an extremely it's an extremely good platform to start experimenting on new ways to give those experiences to your customers in a different setting. I also believe that that having and for brands to try new technologies is very important. They try technologies that are stable, and that the AR and VR, they are emerging, yes, but they are stable enough for you to be able to deploy, an experience for millions of people around the world, and I think AR and VR definitely are going to be major technologies for brands in the next 12 months, and we're going to see a jump, and we're going to see this hype around AR and VR that we haven't seen before. And I think companies today are starting to recognize the potential of those technologies. So I'm also very excited about it.
That's awesome. That's great. Jose, any closing thoughts, any closing remarks that you want to leave us with?
Well, first of all, thank you. I think always talking to you is great. And I would only tell any brand out there that it's very important for us to recognize that COVID-19 it's a surprise for everyone. I think you cannot blame yourself because you don't know what to do. But I do think we should blame ourselves if we don't take action quickly and we start doing something. So I think that no strategy is going to be flawless, but you need to start executing and doing something. During the social distancing part, there are lots of brands that are going to do great, and there are lots more that are going to have huge impacts, but we should also focus and start designing today for a future that is already here. It's not going to come in like 2 years. I mean, the day the government tells us that we can go out and start consuming in the way we used to before, that day you should already be a new business and a new brand. So let's hope we are there when we get there, and I wish every brand can actually gain a lot of knowledge and change, dramatically in the next few weeks or months, to make sure that experience is there and they can still thrive.
Fantastic, Jose. I couldn't agree more. Now it's a time of action.
Exactly.
And start trying to imagine the future and driving towards the future to be better positioned in the post-COVID-19 world. Jose Molina, Managing Director of Publicis Next, based out of Mexico City. It's been a pleasure, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. Take care, man.